Welcome back to the Always Aggressive podcast. I'm Cory with head coach Tony Ersland, Tanner Lipsett. Guys, we got a lot of ground to cover. A long way to go in a short time to get there, as Jerry Reed used to sing about. Smokey and the Bandit reference for. I know a couple of guys on this pod who are old enough to remember Smokey and the Bandit.
We guys have
thanks for the reminder.
Man, love
I know
it.
he's old, but why you gotta lump me into this?
Because you're as old as I am. And I'm old, brother. So welcome back. It's good to be back. Like I said, let's go ahead and start, Coach, with all the way back last year, the Midlands championships.
Last year, so long ago.
So long ago. I mean, yes, absolutely. It feels like we've gone so far since then.
Yep.
You guys took a smaller roster, not a full lineup up. To the Chicagoland area and competed well, I think.
Yeah, made a change, a little different than past years where we didn't have our varsity lineup out competing right after Christmas. I don't know, pretty much maybe my entire career we've done Midlands and or Scuffle, right? We did Scuffle last year and had great success there. And this year just decided to take a different approach, especially going into the Big Ten season, right? And we're going to preview Rutgers here in a little bit. So yeah, made the decision, keep the starters at home. We trained, got a really good training cycle in, was really happy what happened there. And then sent, I think it was 11 complement of red shirts. And then also, backups, guys that are kind of number 2, 3, maybe on the depth chart, and even had a signee, Christopher Coates, who competed up there too. And as always, you have mixed results, but for that group, which, like I said, included high school kids, red shirts, and guys not competing as much, behind starters, results were solid, mixed, albeit, but man, we had 3 guys, I think, wrestling on day 2 out of that group that were in the blood round, with Hayden Filipovich making it through. And really Hayden was kind of just bolstered by the fact that he had a win over, it's funny, we're going to talk about Rutgers and their lineup, had a really strong win over a Rutgers opponent who was ranked top 8 at the time, in Division I at 184 pounds. So he really had a quality win there, and then demonstrated some consistency coming through the bracket to place. So I mean, that's the quick and dirty. We can go wherever you want from there, but it was nice to see these guys in a high level tournament against quality opposition, have some success and be tested. I think, the Midlands are a little different because, again, the quality of competition's higher. Sometimes they're going to these open tournaments and you're not seeing as deep a competition or as deep of a bracket as what they saw at Midlands. So it was a really good way to measure where these guys are at, skill wise, especially the young kids and their progression. So that's what I appreciated about it. Even where there was some tough losses, we got to see them against some great competition, so we know where to go and what to fix with these young kids in the future.
I think, you brought up Phil, so let's start there. An 8th place finish at 184 pounds. Hayden's a kid who, started for us last year at 197, kind of by default with the way the roster shifted and some injuries and whatnot. And, really stepped up for us last year as a freshman, drops a weight this year, has some injuries and stuff in the preseason, kept him out of wrestle-offs, kept him, out of some early season action. So this was, kind of a coming out party for him in the sense of this was his first full strength visit at 184, and he showed out.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of the injuries, right? That's been off and on this first semester for him. So it was really nice again to see the jumps he's made. I mean, injured through wrestle off, so we didn't get to see him there. Came back on short rest, wrestled at Clarion, hurt again, came back from that, and really on kind of not as much training as you would want, came back and looked really good at Midlands. So yeah, I like where he's going. And he and I talked after the tournament, as you do. I think him going down in weight, and he was kind of shoved into the lineup at 97 once we had some injuries last year. Obviously, Thomas Pinola, who had been, just a mainstay for us for years, and then Hayden's kind of shoved into that role on short notice. So we really, had to evaluate what was his best weight. and made the decision to come down. And it's nice to see a kid with the discipline required to bring it down and control his weight the way he's had to, and then to have success. I mean, that's rewarding, right? You like to see that hard work kind of pay off with some wins and some recognition. And so, yeah, that was, I think, important in my eyes, that Phil had success at a weight where we think he's better. And that continues to show up.
His big win for the tournament took out the number 2 seed, Brian Soldano of Rutgers. A guy who's had a lot of success. Unbelievable match. Phil ahead, behind, review. Ends up Soldano gets out and goes ahead by a point with 20 seconds left.
Yeah.
And Phil manages to bull his way into an underhook, gets the body lock, and finishes off the match with the takedown and a few swipes. A showing of almost pure will from Hayden.
Yeah, when you give up that escape at the end, and there's just so little time left. He had no choice. It started off as a double leg. Like, he shot a double leg, but because he didn't have time, he just progressed up the body into the body lock, had a bear hug finish, and bear hugged him to his back. I mean, it was great, to see a kid pull the trigger, miss the first attack, and then continue to wrestle through, chain wrestle for everybody out there, attacks 2 and 3, and to get the finish, with near fall right at the end before the buzzer was awesome. It just shows what he's capable of when he's not thinking and just wrestling and reacting. And that's something that we've been working with Phil to kind of, not be so A to B in his wrestling, but let things flow and flurry. So, and Soldano is the kind of guy that he will do that. He'll roll you through and put you in many different positions and give you different looks. So I thought Phil handled that really well against a tricky wrestler.
Phil goes on, lost in the quarterfinals to Max Hale from Penn, who ended up winning the whole thing. Gets to the backside, wins in the blood round over Nathan Haas, a Cal Baptist, a guy who was a prize recruit, went to Nebraska, transferred to Cal Baptist, standout wrestler. And then, lost to a couple guys down the stretch, but still overall a really good showing from him.
There's no doubt. Like I said, it's a deeper field into place, and to wrestle the number of quality opponents in a row that he did, and not just have success in wins. Like, if you watch his matches, I mean, he was finding ways to score consistently, which is a big deal. Like I said, just to be in a field with quality competition, and now find how can you be successful? How can you score? Where are your points going to come from? I was really happy. You could see the things Phil had been working on, and they were showing up in his matches. And so I'm now just really excited for him. And I know he's excited now about what he's capable of. He was just in the other day talking about his goals with me. And I like where his head's at. He's setting the bar high, but he's the kind of kid he's willing to do the work and have the discipline required. So, yeah, I like where he's at and what that's done for him, I guess.
A couple more guys in the blood round with Phil made it to the second day. Christian White at 141 pounds, one win shy of the podium, and Ashton Jackson at 125, another guy, one shy win of the podium. Pretty good days for both of those guys.
Yeah, and they did it each a little different. I mean, Christian really had to come through a lot of matches on the backside. I mean, he lost in the blood round, as you said, but was he 4-2? He might have wrestled 6 matches.
That sounds right.
6 matches in the 2 days, and just came one match short, 1 round short of placing. So, I mean, he really had to kind of be a warrior on the backside. Was happy to see his fight and his struggle that's required when you have to make a deep run from the consolation bracket, and had another good quality win. And I apologize, I don't have the bracket in front of me, but it might have been a Vasquez kid from Princeton.
I just told you Tyler Vasquez from Princeton.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, another quality opponent, right? And that's just one of many. When you're 4-2 on your weekend and you're right there to place, beat a very quality kid and showed a lot of heart to do it. Like I said, there's a lot of matches that come up quickly. So that was the one thing that stuck in my head with Christian in regards to that tournament. He showed skill, right, in terms of beating some quality people. But there's a lot of matches that are wrestled, bang, 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 back to back to back. And it shows kind of where you're at in terms of your fight and your grit. And so was happy with kind of the grit he showed, wrestling hard in a lot of matches on the backside.
Ashton Jackson, you said, took a different path.
Yeah.
Huge start to the tournament for Ashton as he goes out and upsets the top seed. And at the time, I think he was ranked second or third in the country, Richie Figueroa, Arizona State. Ashton went out, got the first takedown. Figueroa took injury time. He recovers, restarts. Ashton goes out, takes him down again, and was leading 6-1 when Figueroa decided to default. He continued on, packaged that with another win over Caden Chenevert of Central Michigan to get to the quarterfinals before he was knocked to the backside.
Right. Yeah, lost in the blood round. I think the thing there, right? I mean, obviously, he won against a really high quality opponent. I mean, Figueroa was ranked as high as number 1 at one time. But he went out there and he went after Figueroa. I mean, the fact that he got hurt and couldn't finish the match, but just from a mentality standpoint, he didn't go out, he didn't take a back seat, he didn't back up, he wasn't trying. I mean, he got in there and he scrapped hard, and he created 2 good situations for himself on those takedowns. So just from a mentality standpoint, you're watching to see how your red shirt goes out and handles a really good opponent. And I just like the fact that Ashton went out and he went after him. You know what I mean? And yes, I think it was his ankle that he got a little dinged up, but again, got the first takedown on the scramble, came back after the injury time and went right back after him. Wanted to see how bad Figueroa wanted it. You know what I mean? Like, how hard do you want to wrestle right now? So I think that was the positive for me, even though he caught it, kind of on a medical default situation. I like the attitude of our young kid going out and getting after people and not backing up and giving respect just to a number from a ranking standpoint. I think the other positive for him too, if you look at the Chenevert match, was down late and had to go after it and had a little bit of late match heroics, hitting a bit of a headlock, late in the match for near fall.
Wasn't a bit of a headlock. It was a legit headlock.
That's fair. Absolutely.
Got to take it from our headlock expert.
What's that, Cory?
Got to take it from our headlock expert.
You're right. I got to defer to Tanner. That is normally I would be like, wait, hold on, Tanner, a second. I'm not sure you know what you're talking about.
We're in my realm of expertise here.
You are right. Tanner, if everybody who are new to the show don't know, Tanner is our headlock specialist. He's got a business card that even says headlock special. There you go.
Okay.
Tanner Lipsett, headlock technician.
Technician, please.
Headlock technician. So you're right, Tanner. I defer to you. We let it rest there. It's done. It was a hell of a headlock. And, but again, a kid with no backup, no say die, it was late in that match and he's still going after. He needed to make something happen, much like Phil hitting the body lock. My man was out there throwing headlocks from left field and trying to, he's going to go down swinging, if you will, and made it happen for himself. So yeah, a couple of really positive situations that he can draw from in terms of, how he created scoring opportunities for himself. That's always big for young people when you're new to college. You're trying to figure out how can I be successful. And then even on the backside, he gave up, I think it was a takedown and near fall when he lost in the blood round. And so he's going to learn a hard lesson there, some heartache about, hey, you can be out of a match pretty quick if you're not ready to go. And then that was kind of my sense of his blood round match where, the guy got the takedown, and turned him right away. And then that guy was able to just kind of coast. Mm-hmm. And so, again, another lesson to be learned where he had 2 very positive situations for him. And then, hey, here's another one like, hey, I got to be ready to go. I wasn't on my toes and ready to go out and dictate like I should in the blood round match. So, again, a good learning experience for Ashton.
I thought, I thought that was my favorite thing about both those guys was the fact that they did not, they came out and they had those 2 situations where they didn't go down easy. They were like, hey, I might lose this match, but I'm going to throw the kitchen sink at this guy and see what I can make happen. And they both came out, like you said, with a really positive experience.
Man, and that's what you spend all your time trying to convince kids, right? Like, it's worth your risk to be aggressive. You don't want to be careless, right? But, man, to be aggressive is how you train. That's why you train to be in shape and wrestle your game plan. So, again, hopefully that's what these young guys are figuring out is how they can be successful against high-end competition.
2 more guys just shy of the blood round. If we're going to go, we'll go a little deeper into this. Both Ike Rubel and, pulling out the recruiting a little bit. Christopher Coates, 24 signee, was 1 win shy of the blood round as well. Both guys doing some solid work on the backside of the bracket.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Ike he always fights. He shows up. He competes hard. And then I say almost. I shouldn't say almost always. I was really upset with his match that he got knocked out. He was very passive. Yeah. I can't let you off the hook, Ike. I'm sorry. I'm talking to Ike right now because I was upset with him. But Ike can be aggressive and wrestle with an edge that we love. He can be a little raw in certain positions, but I like how he competes in general. I think his one loss was to Cory Teamer, who obviously top 4 All-American here in the past and really tough competitor. I thought he competed pretty well against Cory. Just needed to be a little bit more creative in his attacks to put more pressure on him. But I thought he competed well against a quality competition. A guy hopefully learned how to move his feet. He got low singled. He got beat on one position a couple of times, which knocked him out of the tournament. And maybe that's the biggest thing for him is he let his feet fall asleep on him and he got beat on one position, but it happened like 3 times. And then he's out of the match and he's watching the rest of the tournament. So again, hopefully that was useful for Ike because I love how he competes and his influence in the room. He works hard. He flies around. He gets after people. He's just got to kind of understand, like, you gotta take care of your position because if you fall asleep, a guy's going to take advantage of it until you do. Christopher Coates, I think represented himself solidly. I think what I'll explain to people why I get, with Christopher is because I think he's capable of so much. I think people will really love what Christopher is capable of when they see him in a Purdue singlet. But he's got to be more consistent and showing that off. Like we got to see it on a loop. So he was 2-2, had a really good win early. Would he draw into maybe a Michigan red shirt as well?
Yeah. Dylan Gilbert
had a nice overtime win there. But I guess where I'm at again with Christopher is capable of so much. And, he's in high school, but he's out there competing. So, he's got a long ways to go and things to learn. But I just think, 2-2, he's still better than that. And that's what I want him to know is he's, being good's not got an age limit. The only limitations are the ones you put on yourself. And that's what I want him to be aware of because I think people will really like what he brings to the table. It's just, man, we want to see it all the time. I'm kind of greedy that way. Let's see it all the time. And I think he's learning that he's got to be more consistent in what he does. But a good start, solid start for a high school kid in a nice college open.
We'll switch channels here a little bit. The rest of the team hung back in tropical West Lafayette over the break and got their first taste of action on last Wednesday, a week ago, against visiting Lindenwood over across the way in Holloway Gymnasium. And it was a crazy day.
Yeah, no, great day. I mean, obviously we took extra time to train coming back off a break. And I thought for the majority, the guys looked sharp. I will say one thing about it. You do a midday or a midweek duel in the middle of the day. You're not always sure crowd-wise what you can get. So we decided to run the little kids tournament or duel before. We had obviously Zionsville with the Welches. Shout out to Chad and Doug Welch, who competed and wrestled here at Purdue. A lot of people know who those guys are, had good careers here. And then Logan Brown, a little bit older, wasn't here during my time, but know who Logan was. A great competitor, runs a kids club here, Hammer Down Wrestling Academy. So great event to have those guys here, both with Purdue ties, running that little kids duel. Nice crowd, for, like I said, for a midweek duel. It was nice. It worked. We wanted more people in the stands, and it worked well. So happy with the attendance in the environment that we had. And then the guys wrestled pretty well. I think, obviously Lindenwood's a little overmatched as they're making the transition to they were making the transition to D1. But, our guys went out and did what they were supposed to do, for the majority. I thought 9 guys went out and really got after people the way they should. and showed off the skill sets that they have, so that was good. It served its purpose in my opinion, as we get ready to kind of make a stretch run into a lot of good competition week after week.
I don't think we could say enough about the kids event that we had beforehand. Watching the kids and the parents and the coaches and how excited everybody was and all the pictures they took and all the, it was pretty awesome to see what, joy a small gesture from you in working that out with the Welches and Logan and getting them in here and whatnot. I thought that was just awesome. And then to have them all, stick around to cheer on the Boilers for the day, I thought was, like you said, for a midweek duel, I don't think you could have asked for anything more in regards to attendance and kind of the environment that they brought to Holloway.
Yep. No, absolutely. Once again, just kind of worth saying, it was a great event. Appreciate the Welches and Logan's hard work on this. And from what I understand, everything ran smooth. Obviously, we're down running weigh-ins, getting our team ready to go.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot of positive comments from parents and kids and other people alike. So I think it went off really well. It's something we'll do in the future. We'll continue to do that because it was such a positive thing. Again, during a slow time, right? There's no students here on campus yet. It's just a slow time of year. So you do different things to manufacture a crowd and an environment, and it worked out. So yeah, kudos to everybody involved on that. And like I said, the duel, it was just the guys did what they were supposed to do. They should have been dominant in that situation, and they were.
For the record, it was great to see the Welch brothers. I still don't know which is which. And I'll flat out know.
Doug's missing a tooth. How can you not know which one's which?
It's been too long. It's been too long. It was great to see those guys. It's fun to see them on the other side. Anytime you see former student athletes now going through the pain and stress of coaching, it's a lot of fun to watch that shoe be on the other foot, even if it's little kids,
Yeah, and all three of those guys are doing it for the right reason, right? Like you just mentioned, like the stress, the strain of coaching. There's a lot of hours.
Yep.
You're not getting paid a lot, right? But you love the sport. Those guys do. Like they love the sport. They're doing it for the right reasons. Kids are having good experiences. They're learning a lot. They're working hard, right? It's all done for the right reasons. So, I appreciate what those guys are doing. The difference now, though, with the Welches, buddy, you see they both got hair now. When they were here competing for us, 157 and 165, they were bald. Yeah. But man, they're Tanner repping. They got hair and goatees now, so that is a different look. And then they've been that way a while, but it's just funny to me because I'll always remember them. They're bald heads when they're training and competing, and now they're walking around with full head of hair and goatees. So that's kind of funny too.
As to the competition on the mat, Tony, I know you've said it. You said it a couple times now. The guys. It's no slight to Lindenwood. They were overmatched that day.
Yep.
That being said, it's one thing to know you're better than your competition. It's another thing to go and actually take care of it. It was 5 tech falls. It was 4 tech falls, 4 falls, and a forfeit. I mean, the falls went 136, 124, 154. Like 3 falls under 2 minutes each. I mean, thank goodness it was the fastest duel I've ever seen. Even with the 10-minute intermission, it was
an hour,
less than an hour. And that's just, it is true dominance. And I mean, that's what the situation called for. But your guys, they went out and delivered. They scored points in bunches. They got in control and ended the thing rather than playing with their food a little bit. I mean, there's
and I would agree with that, Cory. I mean, that's what you want to see, right? I mean, you don't want to see your guys sink, in terms of their performance, and be sluggish or lackadaisical or not interested, right? I mean, there's, this is the time of year, and the next event you're into, Big Ten competition. So this is when you got to be sharp. You got to have your weight under control. You got to be in shape. You got to understand technically how you want to execute your match, and then you got to go do it. Like you said, like you got to have all of those things in order. And then when you put your foot on the line, you got to be totally committed to executing that and performing. And our guys were. So, that was like I said, it was a positive thing to see them be very aggressive and go after their points. Now, the thing is, and what we talked about is that has to stay the same. The mentality doesn't change. The goals don't change. They put different people in front of you, but that all stays the same. Because you're capable of it. We saw it. Now we want to see it consistently. So that's the thing, is, enjoying, that opportunity to compete, and now saying, hey, this is what I'm capable of. This is my best. Hold yourself to those standards as you move forward.
I mean, Stony Buell-Tech fouled his kid in 220. It looked like a freestyle match. It was takedown, flip, over. That was fantastic.
And Stony, right? He's got the skill set where he's got the top, you know what I mean? Like some of our guys don't have necessarily top that you're going to see match to match as much. Stoney's that guy who can, though. He can, you give a guy, his position, Stoney knows what to do with it. So like you said, he took care of business pretty quick, because I think he really understands what he's looking for, where some guys maybe quite aren't at that level yet from just a top position standpoint.
Tony teased this a little bit, and it's a nice transition into, what comes next after that kind of performance. And it turns out what comes next is our Big Ten opening duel on Sunday, as we host Rutgers for a 1 p.m. showing in Holloway Gymnasium. Should be a great duel, Tony.
Yeah. Good team. I don't know if did you mention what they were ranked there? I mean, they're what?
I did not.
14. They're a highly ranked opponent. They have a nice squad up and down their lineup. You know what I mean, from a balance standpoint. So we know, hey, we're going to have good competition in front of us, but I think we have lots of opportunity too. I like how we match up. And I think if we perform at the level we're capable of, I think you have a great duel. That's going to be exciting for the fans. So again, a lot of opportunities in that duel for us. It's on us to make sure we go out and perform like we're capable of. You just got to worry about us and go do, again, what we're capable of, because I know they have a lot of good kids. They're probably like everybody too. They've had some nice performances. They've had some matches where maybe they weren't as consistent as they'd want to be. I mean, if you look at the duel, Dean Peterson, right? He's ranked as high as number 2. Our guy's been ranked as high as number 1, but the craziness at 125 continued, and he took a loss to Ryder this week. So he's fallen in the
Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe at 125.
That's wild.
Right. Yeah. And so, right, you had a potential matchup going of number 2 and number 3 in the country going in, starting the duel off. Right. So again, that's indicative of a lot of the matches in this duel. I mean, that's those matches exist all the way up and down, but 25 is going to, got 2 highly ranked kids. I mean, I think you got 2 ranked kids at 41, maybe
41 and 57. Well. You look at our young guys, Grayson Clark and Joey Blaze, they're going to have opportunities against some guys that are ranked that should provide some really good matches in the duel.
Yep. Ranked matchup. Well, I mean, we're ranked at 65. I don't know if they're ranked here to tell you the truth.
But they have been. They have been. Season, yeah.
Two quality kids. So
I think Anthony White just fell out.
Okay. And so I just think that's indicative of the duel, in general. I think there's a lot of good matchups in that duel. And man, whoever brings the hammer and imposes their will on the other guy, executes their game plan, cleaner and better, then that's the team that's going to get it done. But again, I'm really excited where we're at. As we stand today, right? I mean, everybody's healthy, everybody's ready to go, and we're just excited to get them in our gym and get this thing started.
In addition to Rutgers this weekend, we'll send a few guys on the road over to Alliance, Ohio, and Mountain Union for the Purple Raider Open. Another nice opportunity for some of these guys to go compete instead of sitting around and watching.
Yeah, it's that time of year, right? Like the opens are going every weekend, and certainly we want to get a lot of our red shirts and other guys matches, right? That's the great thing about wrestling is you may not be wearing the Purdue singlet necessarily for the 10 matches in that duel, but we'll get you matches for all your hard work, and that's this weekend in Ohio for those guys. So excited to watch the continued development of a lot of those young guys we just talked about, and then the backups as well. So yeah, it's good to see them have opportunities because they're working hard like everybody else. So to have an opportunity to compete and push yourself, I really appreciate that for those guys.
You just mentioned this briefly, Tony, but I think it's worth emphasizing is the fact that, the roster is very healthy right now. And, being at the
knock on wood, let's all knock.
I already did. I did it for us.
Thank you.
It's a rarity in this sport at this point in the season. And you look across the country at, guys that may or may not be nicked up here and there. And it's a huge blessing to have, as many guys as you can really healthy at this point in the season, really able to maximize on training opportunities, maximize on competition opportunities, and just have a chance to really dive into the Big Ten season.
Yeah, no, touche. Agreed with everything you said right there. It's really important for development, right? Both in the room to have guys have bodies that can push each other and create situations, right? And that's a big part of what, as a coach, you try to do is create situations in your room in that training environment to get people better. So they're pushed, and you got to have those people. You got to have bodies. And then, like I said, the other part that I really appreciate, just, how many sports those kids work really hard. Maybe you don't get a lot of minutes or you don't get playing time, and everybody's working as hard as everybody else. And so for me, in this sport, those guys have a chance to compete and see the fruits of their labor. That's a big deal. It keeps your motivation up. It keeps guys engaged. It keeps them ready. So if somebody does go down, God forbid, we're not healthy next week after our duels, that other next guy is ready to go because he's been competing and he's engaged in that way. So it's a big deal, like what you said.
Cory, we got anything else on the hook here? I thought we had one more thing.
I thought we had one more thing too. Yeah, you had some news for some other signees.
Oh yeah, we talked about Coach already and his performance at Midlands. Our two other signees for 2024 have they've been putting in some work as well. Start off with Isaiah Quintero, just coming off a huge win this last weekend.
Yeah, Isaiah, or IQ. If you hear us from now on, you may hear a coach say something about IQ.
I think he said IZ too. I think IZ is what he goes by too.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. Man, I know when I ask him how IQ's doing, maybe I should start with IZ, so we don't get too many nicknames out there. But as you alluded to, huge win, Doc Buchanan tournament out in California. It's an invitational with kids from all over the United States. Let's just face it. From many states, you had St. Ed's out there. From Ohio, you had many of the best California schools. You get Oregon, Utah. You name it, and it's very tough brackets, very deep. Isaiah won the 120. Well, 123 is what they said, but it's the 120-pound weight class. He was also the most valuable wrestler for the lower weights, for the lightweight. So big honor and respect for Isaiah. I think we looked at the bracket the other day, and he beat guys or placed ahead, either beat or placed ahead of guys that were ranked like 8, 11, and 13 in the national rankings, right? And he's ranked as well. So there's 4 kids alone, but he was ahead of number 8, number 11, and number 13 in that bracket. So a well-deserved honor, and looked good. I was texting with him the other day. He can score, and he scored early and often on guys. We want to keep him scoring late because he can. He knows he can score, and so to separate himself from competition, we want to see him scoring a little bit more late. But I love how he comes out and starts his matches. He comes out, he's on his toes, and he's aggressive and getting after people. And so I just want to see him keep building throughout his matches in terms of his scoring potential. But big wins out there at the Doc Buchanan for Isaiah.
Cory,
You said he looked good. Nothing looked better than that cowboy hat he won.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
Maybe the belt buckle, but what a great couple of trophies at the Buchanan.
The cowboy hat is awesome, right? Like, I agree, man. Like, that's one of the best around that I've seen. So if you haven't seen it, you got to get on Purdue Social and check out the pics from that event. All the winners get a cowboy hat. So and it looks good on Isaiah too. He wore it well.
Yeah,
absolutely. I don't know if it's as good as the what is that? The helmet that they do at Clarion. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too. No doubt. Props to them.
Isn't there a tournament that does a sword, or at least there used to be?
There shouldn't be.
Is that the Edinburgh tournament where you get the sword, the Scotsman?
It might be.
Right.
I mean, listen, Shop's got a big old sword in his office.
Yes,
so
he does.
That was an Edinburgh thing, maybe.
That sounds right. So
sounds dangerous.
Yes.
Wrestlers with swords? Why is that a problem, Cory?
I don't understand. That's why they got to give out helmets at other tournaments, right?
Right.
You got to collect all the hardware.
Just keep the weapons away from AJ Shop.
Our third and final signee in that class, Wyatt Cresa, he has been on. He's been performing really well. Had a nice showing at Ironman early December, but then came back and won the Al Smith here in the last week with bonus points all the way through the finals. What did I say? 3 falls, a tech fall, and a major decision.
Yep, I think that's what you had read back to me. So, yeah, very dominant in the Al Smith, one of the better in-season or tournaments here in the state of Indiana. A lot of schools, a lot of good kids, a lot of ranked matchups that you'll see at the state championships. So nice to see him not just winning, kind of like I was talking about Isaiah, not just winning, but, man, he was dominant. He was really aggressive throughout his matches. And so, yeah, I like to see that, and I think if you look, too, referencing Wyatt and Doc Buchanan, he had a win, you said, over Bennett.
Who won? Yeah,
he won the Doc Buchanan as well.
Bennett at Ironman.
Yeah. So a good nationally ranked win for Wyatt there. Again, those are the 3 signees that we have coming in next year. Obviously, all 3 doing great things. I mean, you have Chris Coates, who's already wrestling in the Opens and having some success, showing his capabilities. And then, obviously, we're very excited about Isaiah Quintero and Wyatt Cresa with what they're going to bring, both in terms of, their competitiveness, how they compete, what people see, but just kind of who they are as people and what they'll add to our culture.
Can't wait to see him get here and start doing the old gold and black.
That's the only negative. We got to wait till June when summer school gets going and they'll train with us all summer.
Stinks. The waiting sucks. Tom Petty was right. All these years ago, Tom Petty was right. It's the hardest part. 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, you guys take on the Scarlet Knights from Rutgers. If you can't make it out to Holloway Gym, you can catch it on Big Ten Plus. We'll have a great broadcast, bringing that to living rooms around America. But get out to Holloway if you're within shouting distance. Should be a great one.
I appreciate you bringing that up, Cory. Yeah, we need people in the stands, right? It's time to make your Big Ten run. There's 8 duels left in the Big Ten, and then we're at the Big Ten championships. It's going to go fast. So, again, appreciate you encouraging everybody come out, fill the stands, get loud. It's going to be a good duel with a lot of tightly contested matches.
I think they're giving away Purdue wrestling beanies to the first couple hundred fans.
That's right.
Yeah,
and just in time too, right? Because the weather's going to get cold. So,
come on, I got to cover this head with something.
Yeah, you need it.
Get a high shine on that sucker. Coach, one last thing. I was thinking about this earlier. You mentioned that, the team's health is where you want it to be right now. And there's only 8 duels left. The way the Big Ten Conference sort of stretched out the dual season this year, do you think that will or should help teams stay healthier? That you guys have 1 duel this week. You've got 2 next week, but then 5 days off to your next one. You think this is the payoff?
I'm hopeful it is, right? I mean, that's clearly it's just not my concern, right? Like all of us Big Ten coaches, the goal is to get through a very tough dual season and still come out the side ready to do your best wrestling, right? And to do that, to be as healthy as you can be. So that's why, it's one less duel. We talked about, we went to divisions. We used to have 9 duels and now it's 8. I mean, that was something I think we all agreed was best as we prepared for the Big Ten championships and the NCAAs, our biggest event. So yeah, I'm hopeful that it's, it's the right thing. And I appreciate it. Now, obviously you got to go out and wrestle really 8 tough dual meets against great competition. So, you're gonna get beat up here and there. I mean, as far as physically, how you're feeling, but that's not different than how you're gonna feel on day 2 of Big Tens or even NCAA. So it's great in its preparation. At the same time, man, moderation, right? Like you don't want too many of those duels back to back to back where you come out like hamburger. And I think the schedule right now, the way it's set up, allows for that pretty well. I'm not, it used to be tougher in my opinion, in terms of how many of those stacked duels would be, back to back to back. And boy, you could come out of that with guys who are really beat up. So this more time elongated with a compressed schedule, I think works better than what we had before.
Well, let's get it started on the right foot. Sunday against Rutgers, 1:00 in Holloway.
Amen.
We'll see you there, boys. We'll catch you back here on the Always Aggressive podcast next week. Boiler up.